If looking at this, I think right from the morning I've been listening to many speakers here and downstairs. Many of the things have been covered, but I think many of the questions have also been raised, so which I'll try to cover. So I'll actually talk about some of the e-health initiatives of the government, and also where exactly are we, how are we shaping towards the digital health? What's the role of open data, and what's the role of standards? Because these are some of the things, if you look at right from the beginning, we may not land up in a mess that many developed countries have been. In many developed countries, we have seen that they have had lots of systems being developed their own way, they don't talk to each other, and now they're trying to rationalize that. Instead, if we start right from the beginning in a well-planned and organized manner, we can definitely do better. I'll talk about the National Digital Health Authority, which is actually now a part of the National Health Policy, which came out last year. And of course, any questions, answers, most welcome. So prior to my current position, I was actually leading this National Health Portal, which was supposed to be the first point of access for any information related to health. And we had started, of course, in English, Hindi, and 4 regional languages, that is Tamil, Bangla, Gujarati. Gujarati was very much there. So Tamil, Bangla, Gujarati, and Punjabi, these were the 4 regional languages other than English, Hindi, which started. But now it's in the process that ultimately it will be available in all the 22 languages given in the Schedule 8 of the Constitution of India. So if you need any information you're looking for, you can definitely go there. And even if the information is not available there, you can actually find where it is available. The links are given, as I said, in different languages. And right now, though it's only 6, but it is going to come in all the 23 languages. The next interesting thing has been about mobile apps. Again, mobile apps, there are too many of them. Most of them are probably useless. Which one to find? Which one to use? So one of the things that's very important is also, assessing them. And like Dr. Kulkarni was doing just before me, I think that's a very nice way of sharing your experience where you find which apps are really useful, which are not, which can be easily used, and so on. So we have a section on mobile apps. Some of them were developed by the National Health Portal, are in the process of being developed, but then also we are giving links to other mobile apps which we found useful. Now, internet penetration in India as of date is less than 30%. This is a reality. I'm talking about the wired internet. Mobile penetration is more than 80%. And wherever there's a mobile, smartphones are going. So actually, since June 2012, that's now almost 5.5 years, India has actually crossed the internet access through desktop or laptop has been exceeded by internet access through the mobiles. And the gap is increasing day by day. So wherever there's a mobile, internet can be accessed. But despite that, there are certain things, because connectivity is always an issue. In fact, all boils down purely to the population. The number of service, whatever is available, but the capacity usually cannot serve the target population. So that's always happening, and whatever high-speed internet we subscribe for, we actually find.
Speed has almost crashed the routers.
Yeah, and speed-wise also. But then, because where there's no internet, so we started a toll-free number in the national portal, 1-800-180-110. You can also try it. It's a toll-free number, where there's information that's available on the portal. Part of it can be available in 5 languages. And of course, that's also being increased. It's a voice recognition, natural language processing is being used there. And interactive features are there through the forums, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. And I'm not sure how many of you have actually interacted, but both the Facebook and Twitter People do put up questions and get answers, and there are some long chats also sometimes. This is a Facebook page and Twitter page. Now that was about the portal, but now I'm coming to something more concrete, evolution of the digital health in India. This is the oldest document actually, the oldest government document in India. It's almost 15 years old. The IT infrastructure for health that was published by the Department of Information Technology under the Ministry of Communication Information Technology in 2003. If you look here at the top, it's the standards, which is the most important thing. And India has been trying to move in the standards way right from the beginning. In fact, IRDA was the first to bring in some standards that recommended way back in 2012. The Ministry of Health brought out the EHR standards, the first edition, in August 2013. Of course, in March 2014, we became a member of SNOMED International. India became a country member of SNOMED International, so SNOMED in the first edition was not mentioned like that, but in the second edition of the EHR standards recommended by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, that was published in December 2016, SNOMED City is very much there. And these are the standards, but other than standards, if you look at legal framework, and that's precisely what's going to happen, the National Digital Health Authority is being set up. That will be a regulatory authority like the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. But the most important and probably most neglected part also is the right bottom corner, what you see, the education. We actually don't really bother about that, the change management and the capacity building. In fact, change management, this term may be very familiar with many of you, but I'd like to make it more tangible. How many of you have stayed in a place where nearby a flyover was being built? Can you raise your hands? You have seen a flyover being built near your house? Just one? Two? So few? Okay, there are quite a few. So, what's the purpose of a flyover? It will reduce the time, transit time. But when the flyover is being built, what happens? Time increases a lot. And that applies to any change management, anything, any system, wherever. You have to always keep the vision in mind that we are going to reach there. But for that, right now, we are going to have problems. In the 19s, when the railways started computerized booking, the railway clerks would get very upset and say, oh, we can do it manually much faster. Now no one will even think of it. So initially there will be pain, but change management is essentially to making them aware where we are going, what will be the advantages for going there, what are the problems we are going to face, how do we reduce them, or at least the duration. Awareness, that's the most important thing. So change management is essentially that. We need to be very clear. And that also has to involve, whenever we are going for change, involving the end users right from the design phase. If you look at the Digital India initiatives, this document is also available in the public domain. So here you see there are 9 pillars, of the which 5th pillar is the e-Kranti, or the electronic delivery of services. There you can see for health, the things which are mentioned as part of the Digital India policy. Online medical consultation, online medical records, online medicine supply, and Pan-India exchange, which was supposed to be ready by 2015. It's still not there. So we are delayed by almost 3 years. But it's in the process. It's a work in progress, and probably in another 6 months or so, we'll have the integrated health information platform ready. So work is going on that, and I'll say more about this just after this. The next thing which is very important, and we have been hearing about innovations also right from the morning. When we talk about innovations, revolutions in healthcare and big data analytics, and this is a McKinsey report which talks about the positive changes for tipping point for innovation. And if you can look at this, other than the demand and supply chain, the technology advances, it's the government also which has a role to play. And what's the role the government can play? There are 2 things. One is making data available to everyone. So we have that data portal of India, data.gov.in. Those of you who have not visited, please have a look at it. A lot of ministries have been uploading a lot of data in open data format. Anyone can download and analyze and use them, even for commercial purposes. And Health Ministry is one of the more prolific departments, ministries, which has been uploading a lot of data. And the next is, of course, standards, encouraging the private players to adapt to standards. So both these things in Indian government scenario has been doing so. We expect more and more innovations over the coming years. This is the data portal. Now, the next important issue which I'd like to highlight is about the standards. If we really want to provide better and cost-effective patient care, we cannot do that without health information exchange. This is a global village. So today a patient may be in Ahmedabad, tomorrow he may be in Delhi or Singapore, day after tomorrow may be in Washington, D.C. Wherever they are, they should be having access to the record. And that's not possible unless we are using such things. So what is standard? It's essentially the ability of two or more components to exchange information. That is the structural or the syntactic interoperability. But more importantly, to use the information meaningfully, that is the semantic interoperability. Then only it makes sense. If you look at these examples, one hospital may be coding the gender as 0 for male, 1 for female. The other may be doing the opposite. A third hospital may be doing an entirely different type of coding. How do we exchange this data? If you just exchange those things, numbers 0, 1, it doesn't really make sense, or it may actually mean the opposite. In medical especially, when I say something and you hear something, you may not actually think exactly what I am saying. So the dog I'm thinking and the dog you are thinking may not be the same. And as far as healthcare delivery is concerned, this can often make a huge lot of difference. Many of you are globetrotters and you would have been moving all around. So earlier you would have been using multiple adapters or maybe a universal adapter. Now if you see, it's a USB connector, the charging point which is there. It's available everywhere in the airports, in the metro rail coaches, everywhere. So that's the beauty of the standards. If you really have something as simple as that, you don't need all those things which are shown on the top. When a doctor says something, a clinical diagnosis to another doctor or to other healthcare providers, pharmacists, so on, they understand very easily, but a computer doesn't, because a computer is an idiot box. It doesn't do what I want it to do. It only does what I tell it to do. We need to know what we want to get out of the computer. Otherwise, the computer is not going to give us everything automatically. So if you are thinking of digitizing, then of course, it's very important that we put it in a format which the computer will understand. And for these different things, we actually need different standards. Different standards are there for different purposes. If you look at the standards, if you look at the categories broadly, of course, you need an identifier. In India, it's likely to become the UID or the Aadhaar to bind all the things. But the 4 categories, the first one, if you see, is the structure. And structure, XML is becoming the de facto structure standard. As I said, the Ministry of Health and Ministry of IT together is developing in the Indian scenario, the IIHIP, that is the Integrated Health Information Platform, where you'll have pick and choose systems which are compliant to the standards and that can be easily used like a plug-and-play device. Then you have the terminology and the coding systems. All of you are aware of the ICD system, the International Statistical Classification of Diseases by the World Health Organization. That is meant for statistical, epidemiological purposes, so all countries will report in that. But if you want to do clinical information, knowledge discovery, data mining, if you want to develop clinical decision support systems, ICD is not a good code. You need a clinical terminology system like the SNOMED-CT. And SNOMED-CT can give you a lot of information. It's inherently logical. It's polyhierarchical. In the ICD system, if you talk about viral pneumonia, it's only a lung disorder. It's not an infective disorder. But in SNOMED-CT, a viral pneumonia can be a lung disorder. It can be an infective or virus disorder. Both are allowed. That is a polyhierarchical structure. And that is why, because it's built inherently logically, you can do a lot of clinical decision support also from that. Then for information exchange, the content standards, for clinical and administrative, that is HL7, and for imaging, it's DICOM. So these are the de facto standards globally. The other corner, the right lower quadrant, which we often tend to overlook, is security. Hackers are always ahead of us. We may not like it, but it's a fact. But still we need to be very careful. We need to keep some systems in place. So for security and integrity issues are very much there. This is the document, the EHR standards recommended by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. You can download it from the site of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare or from the National Health Portal. It's available in the National Health Portal. You can have a look at it. Now the other document that I was talking about, the National Health Policy 2017, that came out last year, February. And there it's very clearly mentioned that for developing the digital health ecology, the National Digital Health Authority is being set up. So this is now a part of the national policy.